11 Bang Bang Reload show starts now.
Well, hello, everybody out there. There's Duke. I'm Garrett. You're watching the 11 Bang Bang Reload show. This is a kind of a special show we have going tonight. I had a special guest planned, a different one. He had to back out and reschedule. And I was thinking about it, and I thought in 17 episodes that we have been live on the 11 Bang Bang Reload show, I've never had just these two guys together here. And that's kind of a shame because as far as firearms and Old West history goes, these two guys are the knowledge base that I use anyway. So this is Snapper on my right. If you guys don't know him, link to his channel in the description. And down here, of course, you all know Duke, Frazier Productions, also link to his channel down there. But of course, like I said, you guys mostly all know these guys. And tonight we are just talking about Old West firearms. We're probably going to wind up hovering on Colt. But let's go over here and see who all's in. We have Cornelius, Sula, Americans here. And guys, he is the wrench tonight, so he is going to be watching for trolls. And believe me, he will throw that wrench. We have Gunsmith 4570. Hi. We have Victor Schultz. Hi. And Slick Six Guns. Hello. Hey.
Hey, Slicks.
I just watched your video on Winchester 73 disassembly, by the way. And we have Michigan Mike up north. So let's start off with a question we've actually been discussing here in the back room that Snapper had for us from another channel. But go ahead. Let's talk about this, Snapper.
All right. So we were discussing lube over the chambers. When did it start? How did it start? Was it for waterproofing in the beginning, and then it became hey, this works really good for fouling? Or was it for fouling?
As in lead fouling, not for shooting birds.
Lead fouling, yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, we've been talking about that a little bit. So I just want to know your guys' ideas on it. When did you think it started? How did it start? All that fun stuff.
I'm going to let Duke go first because he has the oldest history on it.
Yeah, and I don't remember where I read this, and I don't remember the exact time period, but I do remember I was reading up on the Rangers, so I'm thinking it's 1840s. There was one that talked about putting lard over the chambers on the Pattersons, and if Doug Dukes is out there, he wrote an excellent book on the arms of the Texas Rangers. Maybe he can chime in there, but I'm pretty sure, and I may have been reading about another account, but I'm pretty sure it was the Rangers in the 1840s that mentioned that. Yeah. But they don't really state as to why. It just said they put lard over the bullets.
My guess would be for waterproofing, but my study on it has come up with only one instance, and it was actually with the paper cartridges where they actually requested in the Civil War that the Colt Cartridge Works start dipping the cartridge ends in wax lubrication because it was fouling out a little bit. But my take on it is, and this was what I was just telling them, other than a couple of military instances, if you go back and read the actual Colt instructions, which I have a box back there, right? I'm not going to bring it up right now, but it's right there. And inside the lid has a set of instructions. And those instructions say specifically do not include wad or grease. The actual instruction itself is fill the chamber to capacity with powder and then press the ball over, compressing the powder. And so that's how a lot of people think these guns are less powerful, especially with 36. You see a lot of people nowadays shooting like 2 different wads and 15 grains and a filler, some kind of grit filler or something like that. But in reality, you can get a lot more powder than that in there, but you don't use all that stuff.
Yeah, that's kind of the way this all really started on a comment that I got on my channel after I did my 51 Navy video. And because I was smearing the lamb's tallow and beeswax on it. I was like, yeah, this is how it was done back in the day. And somebody asked me, where did I actually see that from back in the day? And it kind of got me, I thought the box, because, I could have swore, the whole Mandela effect, that it was on the box. And I read it, and I actually apologized to the guy. I was like, look, I'm sorry. I thought it was here, and I hate when people do that with me. Just, it's here. And then, instead of actually proofing it. And so I was like, look, I know that it came from the first instance that I ever seen it myself was was like the ammunition procurement officer guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he was talking, and it was about the cartridges, the combustible cartridges, about how they wanted to make it a standard thing that they all have the lubrication on it because they noticed it cut down on lead fouling, overall fouling, and it kept the fouling soft. It was just all around an improvement. And then it kind of made me think, why did it start in the first place? Was it for, and my personal thought would be waterproofing, excuse me, because if you're going to load up and you're going to be going weeks, if not months, without probably shooting your gun, you'd want it to be fairly good waterproof because you don't know what you're going to end up in on a round and do what. So my personal take on it is they did it for waterproofing, and then they realized there was other enhancements to that. Like it all around was a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my personal take on it. But I'm trying to find the earliest I could find, and I'm guessing Duke probably has it right because you can't get much earlier than the Patterson, especially with the Texas Rangers, unless the Navy was doing it when the Navy had it. The Texas Navy had it because hell, they were on a ship. Excuse my language. They're on a ship.
Mm-hmm. I know I used to shoot wads with every shot I made, and it was another expense. And to be honest, I just got to where I did exactly like the instructions say. If you fill a 51 Navy almost clear to capacity, I use just a little bit of room. It's around 27 grains is almost full capacity in a 51 Navy with a round ball crammed down on top of it. As far as I've actually ran that load over a chronograph. I can't remember what the numbers were off the top of my head, but it was significantly more than when I was using, 20 grains in a filler. It's just, or even 15 grains of filler. It was significantly more, like hundreds of feet more. So I know Duke has done this experiment before, and you had something else happen with yours.
Yeah, I had a little bit of a chain fire, but that might have been because I was using my uncle's gun, and he had some aftermarket nipples. They're actually designed for CCI caps, not Remington, so had a loose cap. But I wouldn't be surprised. There's too much going on if it would have been from the front. But yeah, I was not what I was expecting.
I'm so lucky it's never happened to me. And what's crazy, all these original Colts, the nipples, the modern nipples, are not nipples, the caps don't fit them very well at all.
No.
No, I think they were a different size altogether back then, like just completely different size. Because everything, it kind of fits, but it doesn't fit very well, and it's very common that they'll fall off.
Yeah, I just know that in that last 61 Navy video we did, between those two guns, we put, I think, 110 through each of those replicas. We didn't keep all the footage because it would have took forever, but no wads, no filler, no grease, no nothing. We didn't even grease the paper cartridges. No slowdown on either of those guns. There was some lead, but what you find is if you get the proper sized bullet, especially one that fits good and tight, and you want a proper sized bullet, you don't want too big or too small. You don't get as bad a leading issue. And I've talked to Snapper about that before.
Mm-hmm. That also brings up the same idea of when I put too much lube, like I'll smear it off completely on the top.
Mm-hmm.
If it's not a full load, like complete full load, or I don't use any filler and just put a whole bunch of lubrication on it, I notice it actually ends up getting my gun stiffer over time. Like the lube just kind of smears everywhere, and then it kind of starts to harden again because it's hot here. Mm-hmm. And it'll actually get inside the pin. It'll get everywhere and actually make the gun feel like it's already locked up, but it's not. It's just the lubrication. You got to pull it off, wipe the lube off. And when I shoot them dry, if I do shoot them dry, which is kind of rare for me just because I do everything I can to best maintain them and do everything I can to keep them safe. I noticed that the one time I did shoot without any lubrication at all, it actually ran a lot longer than it did when I usually use lube. Accuracy went down, but the actual gun locking up, rotating everything, it actually took a lot longer.
Yeah, because I started out shooting wads, like I said, on everything, and there was 2 videos that I was about to change the grease because everybody was telling me that a couple years ago. Everybody was telling me, that's historically accurate. And for the time periods I like the most, which is the 1860s and Civil War and post-Civil War, it's not accurate really at all because you're not, especially militarily, it's all paper cartridges. But Duke was the one who was like, if you start shooting this grease, if you don't like cleaning your guns anyway, which I'm not a big fan of cleaning my guns, it's going to be nasty. And it is. That grease is so nasty to clean out of that gun.
And it's worse on a Remington.
Oh, yeah, because it catches it all.
Oh, my God.
I bet you end up locking it up pretty quick and have to scrape all the grease out of it.
The other
I found out with those Wonder Wads, you can shoot 50, 60 rounds through that Colt, and you can clean it with 3 patches.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
You shoot grease, and I don't care if you shoot 1 round or 60 rounds, it's going to take a half dozen or more patches to clean it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've never used the wads ever. Not once. I've never shot a gun with wads yet. Never did it. I really don't know why.
The something about those wool wads, I think they scrub that bore behind every shot.
It sounds like, I mean, that makes sense too, because it's going to compress them when the pressure goes up, and it would act as a scraper. It should.
And so it's like, I can shoot with wads all day. It don't take long to clean the guns, but once you use that grease, oh God, you're cleaning. And you better break out the Dawn dish soap, because you're going to have to scrub and scrub and scrub.
You're going to have to cut it. Well, I started shooting in the late 90s, early 2000s with my uncle, who, there is not a lot of information out there unless you went and got like specific books. Like the magazines everybody had, information everybody had came from Rifleman magazine or this or that, And so and if you didn't have that stuff, you were, back then you either sent off to try to figure it out or you did what you thought was best. And my family on that side always been muzzleloader shooters, and they shot, the Thompson style rifles and stuff like that, always rifle shooters. And so what my uncle would do is he'd take one of those things and he would make a spit patch out of a piece of ticking, and he would spit patch the balls into the chambers. And that's how he did it. And I always thought that was how you did it. So the wads made more sense to me when we first started getting into wads, because it wasn't patching, but it was wads. So you're talking about he always fought, never could figure out why the round ball. He wanted a smaller round ball than the chamber that he could wad in with a piece of pillow ticking like a rifle, and that was always, he didn't like cap and ball revolvers very well just for that reason. He thought that's how it was done.
Trying to pillow tick it, huh?
Yeah.
I've never seen anybody do that before.
Well, I mean, if you're always shooting muzzle loading rifles,
that's how you do it with the rifle.
You think you're going to do.
Yeah.
So that's how I got the wads.
I had to do that with my Uberti 51 Navy with Hornet A375s one day to get a video done. Was they 375s are just rolling right out of the chamber, so I had some real light cleaning patches, and I just used those and crammed them down in there and cut them off, and it worked. Couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. Yeah, I couldn't hit the broadside of a barn if I was standing inside the barn.
My worst trouble I've ever had was a 49 pocket model, because I went ahead and bought the 315s, and they were just too small.
Yeah.
So everybody was like, go buy buckshot, because I believe it was 4-aught or 3-aught, whatever it was, buckshot will fit just fine. Well, it would have, but it was hardened buckshot, and you couldn't get it in the chamber. So I was left with, what I did was take a rubber mallet, and I would put those 315 round balls down on the table, tap them once, make them oval, and then load them oval so you cut a ring. And I have done, and it does work. I don't know what it does for accuracy, but the distance you should shoot the 49 pocket model anyway, it does work.
Didn't matter. You know what's crazy here in Nevada, where I buy all my my bullets?
Mm-hmm.
The only size you can find the 49 pocket, like the pocket model, is 310. Hornet D310. That's it.
That's too small.
Way too small.
Yeah, because I'm shooting 330.
Mm-hmm. And it's got to be dead soft.
It's really, really small. And you know what's kind of stupid about it is, it's actually the only thing I've ever shot to that 49 pocket of mine I have. That's at Dustin's now. And I've never had an issue out of the gun. Not one.
If you get the Lee 18-round buckshot gang mold.
That's a good idea. I just bought a melting pot, the actual bottom pour.
Yeah.
So I had the normal scoop it out, and I finally got one to bottom pour. So might as well do that.
I got a bottom pour, and it's great for making swan shot.
I got a spoon with a hole in it that's good for making swan shot.
My bottom pour's got a little bit of a leak, so I just got a soda can in there with some water, and it just drips down in there. When I'm done casting, I got enough swan shot. If I wanted to go hunting, I could tear things up.
Oh yeah,
that stuff is nasty.
It don't make a good pattern, but it does tear stuff up. Let's get over here, guys, into the comment section because people are already asking questions and whatnot. We got Slick Six Guns in here. I said, and Task Force Tyler's in here. Hey, Task Force,
Hey.
I hear you are really growing over there.
Yeah, he is.
Happy for you. Michigan Mike up north said, Crisco. Yeah, I've used that too. Doesn't work real good when it's hot.
No, I mean, you can use that stuff when it's cold outside, but when it's hot, I mean, that's why you got to use the beeswax. And I'm up to, I think my mix was 80% beeswax and 20% lamb's tallow to keep it stiff enough to get through an entire cylinder.
That's where I'm at, right about there too, here shooting in the summer.
And when you start getting more beeswax, that's when it starts gumming up worse.
Worse, yeah.
Yeah. Crisco, he said Crisco and cornmeal. Yeah, I've seen some people. That's the thing about using the filler that is actually helpful for you. And I will give you this. If you're going out to shoot a perfect bullseye and try to get that, sub MOA out of your pistol, a lot of pistols don't shoot the higher powder charges that accurately because it's pushing that ball so fast. Usually they're stripping out in the rifling because they don't have the gain rifling in the replicas today that they had in the originals. So a lot of times if you push that ball out a little slower, you get a lot more accuracy, and that's where that cornmeal does come in handy. He said he gets more boom with filler. That's interesting. Maybe it's because it's more compact would be my guess.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Olivia Wood said hello.
Hello.
Garza's in. He said, hello, everyone. I'm late. Well, that's okay. We're usually late, too. We got Michigan Mike said lube does get messy. Do you guys ever shoot wax bullets like the ones they use for quick draw competition?
I tried those once, and I thought you had to load them over a load of black powder and found out that they can be just as devastating on a bull's behind as a regular lead bullet when you load them over 20 grains of black powder.
They used to call them wax blanks, and people took
Yeah.
it serious in reenacting, and I've been shot with a 44 Magnum with a wax blank in it that is exactly what you're talking about. And believe me, from about 4 feet, you don't ever want to have that happen to you. It'll cause devastation.
We had sim rounds in the military. It looks like a 5.56 round, but it actually is like a wax at the end. And I saw a dude get lit up with a 249 Bravo at like 10 feet. And the dude dumped half the, like, it was like 40 rounds into this guy. Yeah, it really messed him up. Really, and it hurts. I mean, it really hurts. Even at like 50 yards, it really hurts. I felt so bad for that dude.
Yep. The worst, like I said, the worst I ever had was we were reenacting a stampede, and I luckily had on long underwear because I was as historically accurate as I could be, and then I had on my good shirt, and then I had on, actually, even though it wasn't historically accurate, I had a double layered leather vest on that day, which was lucky because when that thing went off, I mean, he had to have been like, it was an accident. He was like 4 feet behind me because, when horses get jumping around, strange things happen. And I remember the pressure was enough to move, not my whole body, but it was either the pressure or just the feeling. I leaned way forward. That was when that horse jumped sideways. We were at dead gallop at this point, by the way. Cattle running all over the place, and that horse jumped sideways. When I leaned forward, I was off balance, just dumped me right there. Oh, that was, I really hurt my collarbone out of that deal too. But that was the only one time I've been shot with one of those things. Ethan's been shot with them more, but everybody kind of quit using them after that. After Santee made a video on how to make proper blanks, and it got around YouTube, around the reenacting community a lot.
Right.
And I'm so thankful for that because we stopped using those wax blanks.
At least when you're hit, you're hit.
Yeah, that's what everybody was saying. You did.
And you're a good actor with it too. You don't have to pretend like you got hit.
Everybody always complained because nobody ever died in the scene, because it was like, unless you were running a stunt man, it was like impossible. So I laid there for a minute, and they come by. I said, I'm just going to lay here and pretend like I'm dead. I didn't want to tell them I couldn't breathe. Then I got up and took a bow, and the Indians caught my horse and brought it back to me, so I was good. Anyway, we going on down here. Garza Vlog said swan shot. You want to elaborate, dude?
Yeah, so it's basically a teardrop of lead.
Not round.
And I don't know why it got called swan shot. But yeah, it's a teardrop of lead, and it was used for shot back in the day. It's basically homemade bird shot, really. Without the there's machines you can do it and make the real shot nowadays, but back in the day, you just drip lead into water and you get a nice little teardrop.
Yeah.
Now, if you let it go too far down, the lead actually turn into a rosette. So you got to have the water pretty close to the drip for it to. And yeah, if you could get it to drop a little further, it would make a perfectly round ball, but it's just a little long teardrop.
Gotcha.
And
I got you.
The thing is, you had to pack a ton of that stuff into a gun to get yourself any kind of pattern. Because first of all, the guns back then mostly didn't have chokes. If you could try to imagine trying to wad a gun with a choke, it'd be smaller at the top than at the bottom. So everything was mostly cylinder bore, and that stuff, I can tell you from experience, does not make a pattern to save your life. You got to pack it in there, but it is devastating when it hits.
Now, if you can pack it in like a shotgun shell to where you can control how it's packed in there, it will pattern decent. But when it's just poured down the muzzle of a muzzleloader,
yeah,
it doesn't work very good.
I've never even thought about loading it in a shotgun shell. I guess they do that too.
I've seen a few things tried: 18 dimes, swan shot, a 58 caliber modern copper muzzleloading projectile. They called that the Butler. And then, that was a buck and ball load, because then they had 3 triple-aught buckshots underneath, or no, double-aught buckshots underneath that. Yeah, I've seen a few loads made that probably shouldn't be going through a shotgun, but.
And back then,
I think there's YouTube channels where they do crazy stuff. Shoot just the randomest things out of shotguns.
Oh, Tau Flater Mouse? Oh, God. Yeah. I shoot some weird.
Everything.
Yeah. I've seen batteries be shot out of shotguns. Those don't fly too well.
I've always wanted to try the dimes just to see. I don't think they would probably do that much damage. They don't have that much weight. And they'd probably fly all crazy, right? Or no, am I way off?
No, they fly crazy, and they're not a long-distance shot, but there's that old saying in that Young Guns 2, you ever seen what $1.80 you do to a $40 mule?
Yep.
I tell you what it'll do to a $40 hog.
Oh, no.
Oh, Michigan Mike up north said the Crisco holds up in the cold. Yeah, that'd be really good stuff up there, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Has anybody ever tried the axle wax? I know it's a stupid idea now, but I heard they used to do it a long time ago.
What's that?
No, I never tried it.
I never tried it either. I was told that it's really bad to do because it turns into tar, but I've seen a lot of videos from like the 80s and early 90s where that's what people were using. Like,
yeah, and the guys over in Europe still do that, but petroleum and black powder, petroleum-based lubes and black powder do not mix.
Yeah, that's what I've been told. That's why I've never tried it or considered it.
No, it's okay with smokeless, but that black powder, it just turns into an instant cake.
When I buy bullets, sometimes I have to take the lube off that they put in it because I noticed that it does the same thing. I always melt the lube that they have off of it and use the beeswax and lamb tallow. Yeah,
you got to use natural lubes with the black powder, otherwise it turns hard instantly.
Yep. Michigan Mike up north said, question, where's the best place online to buy parts for replica Pieta and you British? I'll let you guys answer, but I'll say Numeric is where we get almost all of our parts universally. And
I've ordered a lot of parts through Taylor's. I've ordered some through Cimarron. VTI is a fallback, but they're usually a little bit higher than everybody else, but they do carry a lot of parts.
I've ordered through Dixie Gunworks too.
My now Taylor's and Cimarron.
Yeah, right now, good luck trying to find parts because they're still not coming into the country in great quantities.
I just bought some stuff for a 51 Navy from Cimarron and Taylor's, and they had quite a bit of the stuff still in stock. Cimarron did.
Oh,
They're
good.
a little pricier though, but yeah, you can get some stuff. I'm sure there's going to be things you're not going to get if you wanted it, but they still have some stuff. Springs.
Right, yeah, spring screws, maybe triggers.
I bought a loading lever, and they actually had it. I thought that was amazing, so I bought it.
That's the one good thing you get with Numeric. They carry used parts, so they
Right.
actually send out a deal to everybody that buys from them and offers to buy their broken used guns or whatever. So people send that back in. So a lot of times, especially with the replicas, you can find those parts there. Now, if you're going for originals, you gotta almost universally go to Lodgewood Manufacturing if you want new stuff.
I found a place for the 1877, but I'm not having the best of luck with their stuff. It fits. I don't know if I just have a worn hammer that's too worn, but their springs don't even come close to fitting. They're too short. Like the short arm's too long and the long arm's too short. Yeah, I've been doing everything I can to try to make it work. I made it work, but it's vastly different than the parts that were in the gun.
Yep. Hats off, guys. Master Woodsman is in the chat. You're not going to take your hat off. I think you do.
I'll go for it.
But Blackie's out there. He says, large fishing BB clamped onto a steel leader and then coiled up when they hits like a chainsaw blade. Yeah, I've heard of those, actually. Sounds like it's nasty.
Speaking of Blackie, I got to message him after this. I've been out of town for a while with my dad. I got a project I'm kind of working on with him, and I had to put that project on hold because I've been out of town.
You've been working on a project with literally everybody in the YouTube community, aren't you?
Pretty much.
Non-stop. Squibload said VTI and Taylor's.
I got a project for you.
All the pieces.
I got a project for you one of these days.
What's that?
I need to copper plate some brass.
That would be easy. Copper plated or like nickel plated?
No, copper.
So you want it to look like the copper color? Yeah, that'd be easy. It'd be just like nickel plating, but with copper.
Can you?
What I need to do?
Are we not elaborating on this? I'm interested.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to do is put together some inert rounds, copies of what the 4570 would have been in 1873, 74, 75, 76.
I get what you're saying now. So
yeah,
you can't get copper cases, but you want them to look copper.
Right. So what I got to do is I got to braze in the firing pin or the primer pocket, either braze or solder it in, and then sand that to where it's completely smooth, because the rim on those original 4570s is real thin. Got to file it smooth to where there's none of the modern stampings on it, and then copper plate it, and then I'll put a bullet in it.
Sure. Yeah, that'd be easy, Duke. Just hit me up, man. Just let me know. Send it.
When I get back to Colorado, I'll get all the brass and send to you. Bings, I haven't shot my sharps, and I'm probably not going to reload for it anytime soon. I'm just going to use that brass for that and some 45 Colts.
Something I've been wanting to do for a while is, because most of the guns that I ever run into, originals, always have nickel plated, or well, they're silver plated, not nickel, but the backstrap and trigger guard, like even my Dragoon here. When this thing was new, its backstrap and trigger guard was silver plated. Every single gun behind you,
that gun was new 160 years ago.
Yeah, it was 172. It was made in 1849.
That's probably the only original first model Dragoon you'll see shot on YouTube.
Yeah, you don't see very many original Dragoons shot on YouTube at all. A matter of fact, I did a video. I got a lot of videos to edit. I got the Griswold and Gunnison video, all that stuff, all shot. I just got to edit it. But every gun I have, every single one of them, that's a Colt, except for like the later versions of like the 51 Navy that was converted, the Single Action Army. They all had silver-plated brass, and I believe almost every single gun that was civilian came that way. You either had to order it that way, and I think even the military ones, some came that way, but it looks to me the vast majority were silver-plated, not brass.
The numbers on the 51 Navy, and Duke has read that book more thoroughly than I had it only for a little while, but the Red Book, who wrote the Red
Swayze.
Book? Yeah. I just had it loaned to me, but the numbers on the 51 Navy are out there as far as what was brass and what was plated. Likewise, the numbers on the 60 Army are out there, and you'll find on the 60 Army, at least, I don't remember the exact on the 51 Navy, but on the 60 Army and the 61 Navy, of the guns that shipped with brass frames, right around almost absolutely right at half of them were plated either nickel or silver.
Yeah, and I never see anybody want that done on their replicas. It's like it would make it look so much more authentic.
It's in the pricing. It's in the pricing on almost all of the original advertisements. Do you remember?
Yeah, it was very common. You pull the grip off of any of these guns, and you'll still see silver under there. Now it's all off on top because it just wore off. The only gun I still have that you can still see it is the 49 pocket that Dustin has right now. But all of these, you take the grip off, you can see it.
What do you remember about the 51 Navies, Duke? Was there any information you remember in that book? Because I just don't remember them off the top of my head.
I don't remember anything on the plating on them. I just kind of vaguely remember the years and the serial number productions. Because the one that we've got on display at work, told the museum tech, it said that it was made in 1858, and I thought I better double check that, and I looked up. Sure enough, it's made in 58.
Oh my! I have two books over here that cover it decently. Post 1860, this one right here, the book by Charles Pate, the Colt Model 1860. It has like detailed information on it, and then right here, I don't know if you can make out right over this flintlock pistol. There's one. I can't remember who wrote it, called Colt 1851 and 1861 Navies by Robert somebody. I can't remember. It's a brand new book. It's real expensive, but they cover the nickel plating in it, but I haven't gone back and read all the 51 Navy stuff again since I've gotten that book. I've been moving forward, not back.
Yeah, and I probably need to make that clear for everybody who is watching that it's just the trigger guard and backstrap.
Yeah, not the whole
right.
thing.
Or silver plated.
Here's a question I have. When it's marked down in there, it's only marked as, especially when they're talking about prices, because at one point, you're getting a 49 pocket model for $12 and it's $13.50 plated, but they never talk about if it's nickel or silver. Do you have any information on that?
Depends on the year. So nickel plating wasn't really a thing until the mid to late 1870s. So it had to be silver plated prior to that.
Okay.
Right.
So what I've called nickel plated a lot of time was probably silver plated.
If it's
they don't designate it.
It's going to be silver, 100% silver.
Yeah, okay.
Because I used to think that, and I started looking up the history on nickel plating, because you'll never see it. It always says silver, and I was like, is this silver or nickel? You could tell the difference between the two, but on a modern replica, if you did it, you can't tell. But on an old gun, you could tell it's got more patina to the color.
So I would assume then that the nickel plating looks just like the silver plating, but is a cheaper process then, right?
Yes, that's exactly why they went to nickel plating. Way cheaper process. It's actually an easier process too, in a way. It's cheaper, easier, faster, the whole 9 yards. And it looks better over time.
When you're talking about the look, it should probably be almost interchangeable because it should look the same in your mind. But
yeah, if you had like a 49 pocket, a 51 Navy replica, and you wanted to look right, if you nickel plated it, you would not know the difference. The only way it would look different is if your gun was old looking. If it was old looking, you would need to figure out a way to tarnish it, because that would have looked tarnished.
Well, all the ones I've seen don't have it anymore, so.
Yeah. But if you have a gun that you have that looks new, like brand new gun, and it looks all pretty, you would just, if you nickel plated it, it would be good enough. It'd be perfect. You couldn't tell.
Yeah.
Because they polished them to a high mirror, finish and everything. So yeah.
Like I said, the military 1860 armies, you see it on a few of them, but almost probably, I would say like 80% of the ones that were sold to the South of the Confederacy, all of those were marked plated.
Yeah.
At least on the 60 Army. I can't go down. Let's get over here, guys. I said we got some more chats in over here. Nettie said, hey, y'all, 1 thumbs up for the algorithm. Hey, thank you. And Brass762 said, I need a hammer access screw for a Tula-made Smith & Wesson No. 3. I think we've discussed this like a long time ago. And in 1889, my grandpa got from the Japanese in World War II. Can't find the thread pitch anywhere. I'm going to have to I'm gonna have to refer to Snapper on this. He's the only one. Is
Best thing I can tell you to do on that, if you was asking me, is fill the hole in and re-drill it and rethread it.
That would be that would actually probably be the easiest thing to do. Yes, and the way to fix it if it broke again. If you absolutely had to have it the same way, take it to a machine shop that does CNC, because then they could figure out whatever pitch that is and they could put it in. Because a manual lathe, you can only do metric or SAE. And now there is pitches between that. And I'm actually trying to get an electronic lead screw for my manual lathe so I can pick one when I want. Sorry, language, I know. So I could just choose millimeters, inches, or random. But a CNC machine will make it so you can choose whatever pitch that is at whatever depth, and they can make you a screw. It's probably not going to be very cheap, but if you want authenticity, it's not going to be cheap. Never is.
I'll say that this is the farthest shot you'll have, and you've probably already tried it. Is go to Numeric, maybe. So they have a lot of those old parts. Sometimes, usually they're marked, but they're out of stock. But I would say your best bet's just do what Snapper just told you.
I think that your best step personally would be what Duke said. Drill it, fill it in, drill it, and tap it to a new size.
We lost Duke.
Oh, we did.
Let's go through a few more of these. Gunsmith 4570 said, Snapper, try Popperts for 1877 springs. Use some for lightning.
Say that again, the name?
Popperts.
I think that's who I'm using.
Yeah, because I just bought an entire kit of everything that goes inside one from them just to have on hand.
I'm pretty sure that's who I bought everything from. They're the people who have, like, you can get a new sear, new spring, lots of new parts from them that they make, or they have original parts as well. Their springs just don't fit in my gun. I don't know why. It's very close if I trim the short spring way down, but the long spring is still too short. I can figure out a way to try to push it all upward. I bought a new sear thinking it was the sear because the sear would look pretty worn, but it still does the same thing. I actually have to put the spring in a stupid way to make the gun work, and it's working perfectly, but it's not right.
Let's go over here to chat. We got Landon Simpson's in, said, howdy, guys. Gina Woods is here. Watch your language, guys. Mom's in the chat. She'll hunt you down, right, Duke?
Hey, in Snapper's defense, if you look in the Bible, you'll see hell multiple times.
Let's not go there. We're going to start a comment war over here. Stephen Sheets said, Garrett, Duke, Snapper, howdy, fellas. American. It said, hi, Gina. Michigan Mike up north said, any Ruger Old Army fans, I know it isn't historic, but yeah, it's what got me started.
I think that would go on you, Garrett. I heard you're a big Ruger fan.
I am, but I don't have one.
I don't have one either. I've never had one. I've never held one. I've never shot one.
I'll tell you, I had a guy offer me one for $150 in 2008, and he said, here's your Ruger revolver, and I said, well, was it it was cap and ball, and at the time I was cap and ball out, and I said, I didn't buy it. I bought a Black Hawk.
I heard those are pretty high priced guns.
$800 now.
I'm pretty authentic, so I've never really been a fan of the Rugers. I'm sure they're great guns. If I was probably hunting, that's probably what I would probably use. If I was going to hunt with black powder, cap and ball pistol hunting for some weird reason. I know people do that, especially old Blackie Thomas out there.
Yeah. I think
I would probably go with that because it's probably the best gun you could probably use.
Having handled it, as I recall, it's been a long time ago, but it was very well done. The trouble I have now is I really want one, but I can't justify it because, like, we just dumped a lot of money into a original 62 pocket Navy that we still haven't got yet. Hopefully that works out.
Man, I'm telling you, I feel so bad because I showed you that thing. I hope they find it.
It'll work out.
Yeah, by the time you get another one, Caleb's going to have to sell me that 1903 hammerless to fund it.
Oh my goodness.
You know what? I talked about the other night because I asked him, I was like, hold on, did you buy it or did Caleb buy it? And he was like, Caleb. I was like, no, that means none of us could ever get it again.
Well, I was glad you found it because you never find one, even though it was.
I've never seen one under like $1,700 personally.
Yeah.
Like actually that you could buy right now under $1,700. Never.
Well,
and then that thing was like, how much was that thing? Like $600-700?
It was 900 all in.
It was
but
900 with everything.
They only made 9,000 of them, so
I know
they
they're
were pretty amazing
expensive
to find.
guns.
Hopefully we get it.
You can find the third generations for more money than that original.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And but like I said, going back to the Ruger Old Army, I'd love to have one, but until I finish this Colt series, every penny this channel has goes into Colt guns. Yeah. I have a Colt Derringer here already. I have the Colt Cloverleaf house model here already. We got pretty well everything going forward up until we get to the 73. Still don't have an original 73 single action. But after I get done with that, then I got to start on the Remington collection because I just have inundated with people that want a Remington series.
At least the Remington side isn't that much expensive. I think there's one or two guns that are pricey, but nowhere near as the Colt side.
Well, you've got what, 4 models and that's it?
Actually, when you study it, there's quite a few. You got the first pocket model, and then you got the Remington Rider double action.
If you need a Remington Iroquois,
you have the Iroquois, and then you have the Remington Old Model Army, and you have the Remington Beals, then you have the Remington Old Model Army, then you have the Remington New Model Army, and then you have the Remington New Model Navy. You have the Remington 1875, and then you have the Remington 1890. So it's not a lot, but I would say there's probably 10 videos there. Pretty close to anyway.
Yeah, it's Remington. Give it one video. That's all it deserves.
The whole thing in one video.
Speaking of Remington, I do have to give a shout out to A American for that one over there. He actually had that one, and it was just a frame with a loading lever. And he didn't even know if it was an original or not. He sent it to me, and just look at it. I'll probably have a video on how you can tell if you look at a gun if it's real or not, how to go through it. Price is a big deal, plus what it is versus its price versus markings and everything. And I actually found a lot of the original markings on the gun by using magnets. But yeah.
So when you get done with that, I might have to borrow it for the Remington series, so I don't have to buy one.
I still feel like an idiot for selling the other one I had that was like beautiful, and I didn't pay much for it. A friend of mine was huge into Remingtons, and I figured he would appreciate the gun more than I did. And then I was like, man, I wish I didn't sell that thing because that was really nice. It had a lot of the original finish on it. And then A American hit me with this one, and I was like, okay, this is perfect. This is kind of like what I like doing. I like getting a gun that is completely trashed and bringing it back to life, especially a gun like that deserves to be back to life.
Well, I know where there's a 28 caliber root revolver with your name on it, Snapper.
If you know of one.
I know of one.
I need one. I've been wanting one of those forever.
Not ours, but I know where there's one at. It's probably going to not be too expensive. I'm just giving you a heads up. You got about 3 weeks to save for it.
You hit me up at about
You're lost. Anyway, let's go back to
I'm guessing it's that auction, I'm guessing.
Yeah, it's at an auction.
I was going to say, what the heck? Is Caleb deciding to sell him that one to pay for something else?
No. He would never.
No. Caleb wouldn't sell it. Any of the guns. He would just sell his house, his truck.
He will go out of his way to buy. If somebody even wants to borrow one, he'll go out of his way generally to buy another one, just so that it doesn't leave him. But he'll buy one just to loan out usually. But I was going to say.
Well, in that case, if he's buying them to loan out, there's quite a few I could use.
But I'll tell you what, because we've been talking about this Remington series for a while, I've been trying to get some books together. There's not as, Colt stuff, you got to pick through it because there's so much stuff that's not right. But Remington stuff, there's just not so much stuff, And so we've been working on it, and I was like, so when do you want to start thinking about buying some original? Because he buys almost all the guns on here. And I said, when you want to think about buying original Remington, we're going to buy replicas. Why? You think I'm spending my good money on a dirty old Remington? His exact words was a dumb old Remington. Well, now don't be like that, Caleb. People like those guns.
I think the one you should do next is the Winchesters.
We're actually working on that too, but like
I
I said,
think you're very right.
at one point last winter, I was convinced I was going to do the Remingtons, the Hawkins, and the Colts all side by side, and then I remembered what it takes to do those. And
you realize you weren't Elon Musk.
Well, I need something to do 5 years down the road, too. If we get all done. Let's go over here. Squib said he's glad you're discussing quotation marks nickel plating in the 19th century.
Yeah, it's did Squib get to see the beginning of the show? Because we talked about the whole lubrication thing.
Yeah, I think he was out there. Blackie Thomas said, remember at the pre-1870s, good well-made tableware, spoon, forks, knives, etc. was silver plate, and how common the process was. So doing a gun backstrap trigger guard would be an easy job.
Yeah, it is. It's very easy. But the nickel, when they moved into actually nickel plating, was in the mid to late 1870s, early 1880s, when the process was over. I don't think Colt even offered nickel till like 1878, 1879. I have to look back. It's been a while. But yeah, silver was the easiest to do because it had ways of doing it without electrolysis. Yeah, and you need a lot of electricity to do nickel.
I'm going to jump down here. Gina Woods came back in with a comment for Duke. It said, to tell Duke, Mama Woods says to Duke Frazier, quote the Bible, but the rod of correction shall drive it far from him.
Like there's something in the Bible about sparing the rod, too.
Yeah, spoiling the child. I don't think that's in the Bible, but okay. Nettie said, love how always do a great job delivering your answer to a question. It's really impressive how you put together. They always are. I don't know if they're put together or not, but these guys, what we'll find is, and I'll go ahead and tell you guys this, I talk to these guys through text and everything on a regular basis, and most of the questions that come up in here, we've already hashed out.
We've had a long conversation about usually for a while.
Because we talk about just about all this stuff. Gray Pilgrim's in. Hey, Gray Pilgrim.
Hey, Gray.
He said he's been working on reloading 32 rimfire for a Frank Wesson rifle, and it's not easy. No, it's not. We just buy
using those little 22 blanks.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. You need an off-center primer hole for a 22 power hammer shell. Yeah.
Yeah.
We do it too, but we started out just buying the stuff that they were still making for 32 rimfire. They were making it for like rolling blocks and single shot 32 rimfire rifles. They still make that stuff. It's real expensive, but we could pull the lead, dump the powder, replace it with black powder, and then put the bullet back in. But now we've gone on. The reason we did that was it took like 8 months for us to get the kit from France that did the 22s. But now we're doing the 22s. Let's see. Gray Pilgrim said, my father-in-law had an old Army Ruger. It was a sweet wheel gun. That's what I heard. Mo Milky said, any Spencers out there? Not here. I wish.
Not here.
I'd love to have my hands on a repro, but they're getting as spendy as the originals.
Yep, they definitely are. I would love to have one, but I got to get a Henry first. Because like I said,
really want to get I personally want to get a 73 Winchester or a Sharps.
Well, I got one that needs some work right there, an original. I'm going to send you to work on so you can scratch the itch.
I might have to have you send that to me work on so I can just scratch that itch of holding and playing with a real one.
I don't know. I got a Sharps I'd gladly trade for a Spencer, but
you don't like your Sharps?
It's got a pistol grip on it. I wish it had a straight grip.
I got you.
Which I could fix that, but then I got to buy a trigger plate, and the trigger plate by itself is $125, and then I got to buy the stock at $300.
Well, you're back into it at that point.
Then you can buy yourself a little like 51 Navy from,
What is Spencer running nowadays? $1,000, $900,
$2,000 for a Spencer.
Really?
Yeah,
they're high, huh?
But my Sharps, I found out, It's the Cabela's Hunter model, and I could probably flop that right now and make about $500 to $600 profit over what I paid for it.
Yeah, you probably could.
I've been trying to get a LeMat. That's what I really want. I want a LeMat.
Good
I'm
luck.
starting my Confederate collection, and I want a LeMat. I've gotten to the point where like I really need a LeMat in my life.
Oh, he'll get one. I'm sure he will. Then
Don't buy an
problem is-
original, buy a repro. At least you can use modern bullets.
A matter of fact, I was actually about to say that. I was like, me and my wife were talking about it the other day because there's a little bit of a thing that we almost bought recently that, in a way, I'm kind of glad it didn't happen. But I was like, well, I
it
could buy
started
like
with a W and it was a Colt. I'm not saying nothing else.
I was like, I could buy like 12 original freaking LeMats for that. So I was like, that give me a LeMat, this. But she was like, the whole purpose of it was to buy it, use it, and then eventually sell it. It wasn't a hold on to it for very long kind of price. One of those like, well, like they're very, very expensive. So it was a quickly to, hey, I'm going to be the first guy to ever shoot one of these on camera, then sell it kind of thing.
Yeah.
Heck was you gonna buy a yacht?
He could've
Something that
bought a
usually
yacht
talks
probably
about
pretty
that kind
close
of price.
Well, you know what the most expensive Colt is out there, don't you, Duke?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
I was very close. I lost it by
Oh,
by very,
that
very
you.
little
Oh,
See what I'm saying, Duke? Yeah.
money. Yeah.
holy
As far as the
crap!
walk, it ends with an Yeah. I almost bought a walker, and
You about had company in every room in your house like next month.
I think I would have too, because I was going to shoot it. I told my wife, it's like, I'm buying it to shoot it because I've never seen one shot. The little, the Griswold and Gunnison kind of got me that little, hey, I'm like probably the only person alive right now who's ever shot one of these. How cool would it be to do the same thing with a walker? And we talked about it and we decided, okay, let's do it. And then the person who outbidded us, I was so close to saying, you know what, let's do it a little bit further, but it felt like he was going to carry it further than I wanted to go. So I said, you know what, I'm done at this point. And then I realized when I talked to the guy at the end, if I would have just kept bidding a little bit more, because he was done at the same time, I would have had it. And then the stupid part is he buys it and then instantly turns it around and flips it.
So there you go. He probably did what you did, except didn't get the video out.
Well, yeah, he wasn't going to shoot it. He was just buying it as an investment. And what I don't get is you have to pay a lot of money for the auction fees, a lot of money. And I don't see how he was going to get his money back unless he held on to it for several years. But he instantly put it back on the market.
Yeah, because consignment's 25%?
Yeah, it was over 100. It was like 100, almost $200,000 for just the fee, the selling fee. Yeah, it was ridiculous.
I just can't believe I'm talking to somebody who thought about doing that.
Yeah, I'm stupid. I'm that certain kind of stupid.
I wouldn't say it's stupid. I would
be the guy who accidentally blew the stupid thing up.
I literally
blown up walker.
I never thought I would know someone.
See, if I was going to shoot that, I would see if the Birdie Walker cylinder fit it.
Fit in it. Yeah, I was going to
put the Birdie cylinder in there.
I was going to shoot it like my Dragoon here. I usually never shoot this gun with more than 20 grains of powder in it. I mean, I shoot it for the feeling of shooting it. Every now and then I have done full loads, but knowing that the walkers are a little gentler, I would have never gone more than 20 grains. And at the same time, I'm an engineer, right? I know metals, how they work. If that cylinder had made it all that time, it wasn't going to blow up anyways. And at the same time, the longer something sits, like if you build a race car engine, if you look back in the 60s when they were building race car engines for like Le Mans, they would actually buy an engine out of a junkyard because all of its stress was taken out of the block already. They wanted something with like 200,000 miles or 100,000 miles, whatever, and then they would leave it outside and let it sit for a couple of years. And then they would remachine it and make it into a race engine. And so the more something works, it actually takes the stress out of it if you're not abusing it. Now, you hurt it a bunch, like overpressurize it, then you're putting stress in it. But if you're using it within its parameters, you'll take stress out of something. Mm-hmm. So they'll actually be safer the longer they're used if you're not abusing it.
I see. Let's read some comments, guys. A American was talking Gray Pilgrim. He said he carries a Fit for everyday carry. Yes, he does, guys. Go over and check out his video. Him and I were just randomly one day talking about Colts, and he brought up a picture. He said, "What's this?" And I told him it's a Fit Special. And the next thing I knew, he made one.
Yeah, it's pretty
That
cool
was
too.
very interesting. That was very interesting. Gray Pilgrim said he opted for the Ruger for economy. Oh yeah, he's talking about his everyday carry. Michigan Mike up north said, "Hey Blackie, wow, very cool seeing you here." Yeah, I've talked to him already about coming on here, and I want to get him on here in the next month or two. He said he would come on if I asked him, and so I just need to get it hammered out when it's going to be. And we're talking about motor stuff. Sloth said, "What is you guys' view on the new cartridge 8.6 Blackout?" I don't have a view on it because the most modern I go is 22-250, and Duke don't even like to talk about that. So
Duke's like 45 ACP. What the heck?
no, he
That's
thinks
too
the
new for
6.5
me.
Creed. He thinks that his 6.5 Creedmoor should outshoot my 22-250 all day. Or no, the 223 is a better coyote route 22-250. We're gonna get into this discussion.
I've killed more coyotes at 223, and I've seen more walk off wounded from a 22-250.
I think something was wrong there.
There's a velocity limit to the 22 caliber bullet, and the 22-250 just kind of hits that velocity limit.
Yeah, I say after having shot a lot that you got to have the right bonded bullet. I will agree that if you push the Hornady bullet up there way too fast, up there past the 4,000 feet per second momentum, like he's talking, yeah, I've seen that happen. But if you keep a good, well bonded bullet in there, it'll do the job just fine.
Plus, there's also the issue of barrel life.
That's not such a big deal as it was. It was in the early 2000s and the 90s. People just flat out burning those 22-250 barrels out. But like I said, if you just use your commercial ammunition, it'll be fine.
But I know, 22-250, it's the same parent case as the 6.5. Just go to the bigger bullet.
Need that flatter trajectory.
Oh, 6.5 is pretty flat.
Need that speed, that flat. I want to see the hit in the scope.
Yeah, you can see the hit in the scope with a 6.5.
Well, not me. I blink. The 22-250 so fast, I see it before I blink.
You and Caleb got to learn to quit blinking when you shoot. That's called flinching.
That's the whole problem.
Hey, if I try to quit it, then I won't be able to hit because I've learned to adjust. Oh my goodness.
No, I 6.5. Well, of course it helps. I got a muzzle brake on the end of mine, but it's got a nice soft rubber pad. I shoot that all day. Now, when I'm shooting prone for whatever reason, it jumps enough when I'm shooting prone that I never see the impact, but at closer range. But no, I love it. It's not got a lot of kick.
And you see, if Ethan was on here, he would be arguing not on my side. He would be arguing that 308 is better than 6.5 because if you're going to go big, why don't you go all the way up to 30 caliber?
Just because 308 doesn't buck the wind as good as a 6.5. Basically, the difference between 308 and 6.5 is that you got a longer bullet. Yeah. Really, that's the big difference. Yeah, and maybe a little more velocity. But that longer bullet, they buck the wind better. It all comes down to that, I call it the ballistic coefficient.
Yeah.
And it's got a little bit better ballistic coefficient than the 308. Otherwise, I'd have bought a 308.
Now, I'm just going to stick with 22-250. Only one gun can outrun it, and they don't even make it anymore.
That, when I was reading up on what to get, they said the 300 Win Mag and the 6.5 ballistically perform very similar at range, and it costs half as much to reload 6.5 as it does 300 Win Mag.
Yeah. And all of this has absolutely nothing to do with 6.8. But
I didn't even know there was a 6.8 or an 8.6 or whatever that cartridge was.
Was it 8.9? 8.6 Blackout? Yeah, I don't know.
It's a new one on me.
We haven't spent that much time on the new cartridges other than our work guns, I don't think. I don't know if Snapper even has a new cartridge gun like that.
Not very new, no. I forgot your mom's watching.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, never mind. I don't even remember what it was now. Thinking of it, it's right on the tip of my tongue, but I can't think about it. I'll just blurt it out randomly when we're talking soon.
Yeah. Let's go on down here. Angelica's in. She said hello. Gray Pilgrim said he bought some copper 32 rimfire cases at a gun show. Ooh, out.
Mama Woods is really going to be all over my behind.
my favorite. I actually have an original 45 Colt, but it was like the scope, the shorter, the military round, and it's copper cased, and it has it looks rimfire, but it's center fire. I forgot what it was. It was the 45 Colt / 45 Schofield the military went to after they realized that 45 Colt, the whole mixture back in the 1870s. I got that. I got one of those. It's pretty cool.
Okay. Let's see.
Yeah.
Great Pilgrim said, thing is, you can use a brass cartridge. You take a 50/90, you trim off the rim and drill the primer hole, load it with a rolling paper covering the priming hole. You ever heard of that? I'm a little lost there.
Me too.
And we're going on down. We got a lot of comments here. I'm going to miss a few of them, guys, but I'm mostly talking about the Plowboy's in. He said, if I buy a higher speed 22 than 223 556, it'll be a 220 Swift just for a tick more speed than 22 250, but I'm not into those calibers. Yep, that's what I was saying. It's the one gun that can outrun 22 250. It's just really
50
expensive.
Beowulf. That's what I was looking for. 50 Bear. You ever heard of those? They're really dumb. They're really big. It's 50 cal AR-15 basically.
Yeah. As the copper cases, Gray Pilgrim said, I had to buy the Hopkins and Allens. He was selling the rounds were to advertise the revolver. Yeah. He said, and it works in an 1859 Sharps. We about got into, I can't remember which one of you I sent it to the other day, but we about got into a Allen conversion. Which one of you two did I send that picture to?
That was me.
Yeah, we about got into an Allen conversion in, was that one in 58 rimfire or 5060 or 50? What was
50,
that one?
70.
5070, yeah. I didn't even know they made a 58 rimfire version. But they did.
Yeah, they're very limited. And then there was they made them with the Spencer because Remington also made one with a Spencer caliber, the 5650, because that was the Remington split breech that turns into the rolling block later on.
Yeah.
Has any of you
Which I
guys
had.
ever seen the loading tubes for the Spencer?
What's that?
Those loading tubes, the little tube canisters they have.
Oh, yeah, the Blakesley blocks.
Blakesley blocks, yeah.
I watched a video on YouTube about it. They said they sucked really bad. Is that true? Or I think it was just their reproductions. I'm sure the originals couldn't have been that bad.
Well, the box was a pain in the butt because you're carrying, I think it was a hold 6 or 9. I think it's 6 tubes, 7 rounds. So that's what, 40 some rounds. And then it's this big long box that just freaking slaps you all the time. Cav troops hated them.
I bet.
Yeah. Gina Woods is here with a comment.
Oh boy. Yeah.
Oh, you're in trouble now.
Duke Frazier, I was a mean mama. I had to quit folding clothes in my laundry room to make another comment. I am the language police. Don't worry, Duke. She grew up with people. Believe me, it's fine. It's not fine, but she still loves you.
I'm just glad she didn't mention me. Woo! Feel like I got free.
Well, it was kind of like the content of the word. Sometimes they just slip out on you, and the older you get, the worse it is.
Yeah.
Okay, Brass 762 said, I forgot about an auction I was watching a couple months ago. It had a 58 Miller rimfire round sold for $5. Hey, that's cool.
That's pretty cool.
And Gray Pilgrim said, Gina, my lady, you did a good job. Your boys are honorable men. I don't know about that. So,
look, Mrs. Woods, Duke's drinking. Horrible.
Tea. Anyway, moving on.
I do have Rainier in my fridge, but that's just because I watched Longmire and I got to so much into Longmire, I drink Rainier now, and I got a 1911 just like he's got.
Nice.
You know, when that show came out, I had to go get an original 94 3030 just because.
I forgot I've got one of those too.
And I wanted one just like that because it's, that's kind of the thing. But yeah, what is the lever action of you guys' choice?
This is my airsoft. This is. I don't think Garrett's going to have this here pretty soon.
Yeah, on the channel.
In
Yeah.
a video, anyway.
That's nice.
Yeah, I got it.
I like the grip.
Elk antler grips, and I only paid $150 for them.
They are
That's not
really
bad at
nice,
all.
actually. I like that gun a lot.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Who makes
Yeah,
it?
for a Turkish made.
I have a friend who bought some of those.
Golly, good Lord.
absolutely loves them. They're like
Yeah, well,
pretty,
they were terrible when they first come on the market, but now they're awesome.
Yeah, I have a friend who bought two, the tanker model and then the full, the full size. And I shot it. They were amazing. I thought it was an absolutely great gun, especially for the price. I mean, it was really good price.
If I'd have bought mine a year earlier, I'd have paid $350, but I bought it last year. I paid $550.
He bought
even
his
then-
about a year and a half ago, and I think he paid in the low 300s for it, but I think he got really lucky. He found the right place, playing
Right.
back and forth with, and yeah, I was so close to wanting to buy one myself just because I was really impressed by it. It was, I like the earlier model as well, the 1911. I'd love to have before the A1, the real early version. That'd be cool. But yeah, I like it. It's a great gun.
The one thing that aggravated me though was not 2 months after I bought mine, Tissot started sending them with hard plastic cases and 2 magazines instead of 1
Ooh.
for the same price that I paid for mine.
I hate the double stacked 1911s. Is that bad to say? I can't stand them. They're too wide for me.
It's not
Too wide a
really,
grip.
it wasn't
I
designed
prefer
that
the
way.
single stack. I would rather have 7 rounds than freaking a double stack. I just love the feel of a single stacked 1911. It feels much better to me.
Plowboy said he has the Tissot GI spec Army model. Had it since the last fall and still ain't shot it yet. Is that what you got? No, yours is a GI model, isn't it? Duke?
Mine?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you got the same gun then.
It's
The GI models, the
parkerized, kind of
normal
that gray blue parkerized on it.
Yep. That's another gun we got to get that we don't have is an original first model 1911, not the A1, but the first model one.
Well, I tell you what, you talk Caleb into selling me that hammerless, and you'll be well on your way.
Except for the hammerless has to come before that in the series.
Oh, I'll let you borrow it.
Oh, you'll let me borrow it, will you?
That's hilarious. You want the 1903 pocket hammerless? Is that what you want?
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah, me too.
See,
Me too.
because when you, I get this all the time from people, and actually Snapper asked Caleb to sell him a gun the other day, and I was like, he said, "Would you just ask him?" I said, "I'll ask him, but it ain't gonna happen." Because
That's funny as
I
my
didn't
good
put
friend.
too much hope in it. Put it that way. I didn't put too much hope in it.
let's put it this way: Snapper has been looking for a 77 Lightning or Thunder for
I finally got one too.
for 15 years or something, right? Snapper, maybe more, your whole life.
Yeah, she's not a little kid.
And Caleb buys one a couple years ago, and it's a pretty good gun, but he wanted the 44, and so he finds one. Actually, him and Duke found one together when we were up there on Gunbroker. We were up there in Wyoming, and I looked at it after they bid on it, and I said, "You do realize this is 4 blocks from Snapper's house, something like that. It's not far at all. It's right in that area.
It's right near where I live."
And so I said, "What'd you do that for?" Caleb said, "It's mine. There's no need to even tell him. It's his." I felt so bad.
Caleb ever since then has been my mortal enemy.
So Snapper was like, "Would you sell it?" And I thought, there's no point in even wasting your breath in this conversation.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen.
Oh, I know.
I
don't blame him though. I'm the same way.
Oh yeah.
I'm going to give him a lot of crap, but I'm the same way. If there's a gun that I see and I really like it, I'm like,
Yeah, literally outside of about 5, 6, about 7 guns. Literally, my whole collection is right here, and it's almost all original stuff except for the revolvers here. A lot of those are replicas, but Caleb's collection would go around this room 8 times. So
Well, I told him like 70 years from now, you're going to see a Rock Island auction company, like their little thing is saying, we have a 25-day sale on Caleb Wood's collection.
Yeah, it's gonna be that day, and it's gonna be like Bo. They did that with Jeff Quinn, where whenever they sold off his collection, they had to have like 4 U-Hauls come in. Haul it out.
I told you guys need to start a small museum.
We're thinking about it. We're thinking about it. We actually are thinking about it. I don't know if it'll happen, but we're thinking about it.
All I know is if Caleb tells me that he'll sell me that hammerless, I'm gonna know something's wrong.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I heard that it's either he got cancer or he's getting married. Which to him would probably be the same thing.
The same thing.
Gray Pilgrim said, right now I do not own a 1911. And Brass 762 said, I found a loaded 44 Henry round right behind my house on an old cowboy trail. Has the double firing pin marks, but it has a light strike, so it's not fired. Then I take it. That's kind of cool.
That's cool.
That is very cool. I didn't find, actually. Duke found something on the Oregon Trail like that one time, but we weren't allowed to technically keep it.
Well, I think the girl that works with Duke's girlfriend, is she your girlfriend, Duke?
No, we're just really good friends.
She's really good friend. She found probably the coolest thing I've ever heard of anybody finding.
I was telling him about that 1860 Army they brought in out of the creek down there.
Oh yeah, that's been there for a while, but yeah, that was a cool find.
That's really cool.
And he said, you didn't take a picture of it? I said, there was so much good stuff. I'm not going to go into all of it. There was so much good stuff I didn't even think. He's like, spin a circle and go down. Gray Pilgrim has 130 guns. That's a pretty good collection.
Pretty good.
There. Plowboy said he put unissued Geo grips on mine, and that was an improvement over what was on the Tasas. He's talking about the Tasas 1911.
Oh, putting
yeah,
GI issue grips on it, like actual real GI issue grips. Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah, Michigan Mike said, I don't like double stacks either. I don't know many people that do. It feels like a 2x4 to me.
Yeah,
45.
My wife's 1911 she has that she got from deployment. I can't stand that gun. I mean, it's a great gun. Don't get me wrong. It's accurate. It's fun.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't like it. She doesn't like it that much either.
I'll be right back, guys.
Okay.
And that thing was a crazy expensive gun too, for like the time, anyways.
Yeah. Plowboy said, let's see, Brass said, Plowboy said, Gray Pilgrim is up here. Sorry, guys, I'm skipping all around. He said, best double stack is 1907 Savage 32 ACP. I'll agree with you that those little double stacks are not bad. It's when you get up to a 45 they get bad.
Yeah.
Gray Pilgrim said, I own two, 1907 and 1917. Plowboys Go said, I put unissued GI grips on my Tasas Army model, and it was noticeable improvement. I am a Longmire fan, so I may end up with the Stag Elk horn grips. Yeah, I've shot Dukes, and that was I did like those grips. They felt really, really good, the ones he had. Brass said, coolest 1911 I ever got my hands on was one of a guy's dad's found in the 80s out in the desert on an Army base, matching 1943 Colt with light pitting. Front of the slide had a nice patina, shot great. Whoa, you're a lucky dude.
Wow, that would be lucky. That would be lucky.
Gray Pilgrim said, I had a great grand uncle who was in World War I. Have his book from boot camp showing his marksman scores. So I bought a 1917 Enfield Sporterizer and redid it to mil spec. Numeric is your friend. Yes, we
Good job.
Have several
I
of
love
those.
seeing people return those back to normal.
Yeah, Ethan has two of them that are in original spec. I have one that's sporterized, but it was done professionally in the 1920s. And so it is its own beautiful thing. I mean, that is one of the most beautiful sporter jobs I have ever seen. And so I'm going to leave it that way just because it is such a good shooter and sporterized. And when they're done right and done that long ago, I feel like it's part of the gun's character.
Yeah, so I personally believe anything that's older than 50 years, it probably should stay there.
Yeah, and like I said, this was done. I can't remember who did it, but they engraved it, the gun itself.
Oh, wow.
They engraved the wood. It has ebony fore end. You know, it is a bird's eye maple stock with an ebony fore end. And so
Wow,
it was
that's
done
pretty nice.
really, really nice.
I
And
know
I
that
do.
Rock Island Auction Company has sold sporterized guns and got big money for them.
I
It
actually,
just depends who does it and how well it's done. Because most
And
people see sporterized as just Bubba with a
Yeah.
hacksaw.
and I didn't pay very much money for that gun at all, and it still has the U.S. markings on the top.
That's pretty cool.
So everything's good, other than they've cut the last round bolt hold open off, so it shuts. So that's more. I mean, and it's got better sights, and it's got sights up. It's got ramp sights up on the barrel and stuff. They've cut the ears off, so you can't really. At that point, you can't turn it back to because it's been demilled.
You would have to
basically.
weld stuff back on and do a lot of work. That would be, unless the gun was worth a crap ton of money, it's not worth it.
Yeah, we have so many sporterized military guns. Some of them we've put back, some we haven't. If you guys are interested in that, let me know in the comments, because we can put out a few sporterized military rifles. We just didn't think anybody would be interested in that.
Real quick, I'd like to just say this because I said it in my last video too. These little double actions, they are nowhere near as bad as people make them sound. Like, not longevity wise, I think they're actually it's a pretty reliable gun. I've fired this one really, 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 really fast, and I've never had any issues. Well, I haven't had it long, but to work on this thing though, other than parts, if you actually had good parts, this gun is the easiest. This is not far from a regular single action army to work on. Every time somebody says, "Oh, it's like a gunsmith's nightmare," no, it's not.
I just say keep saying that, makes it easier for us to get.
Yeah. Everybody, it's a horrible gun. You just want to sell them to me and Garrett.
And
Garrett and me.
I remember years ago that was Duelist's position, and then he got a hold of one that actually worked, and he changed his mind. He's like, yeah, they're really good guns. And they are.
He even said it was he opened it up, but I'm telling you, these things, there's not that many parts on the inside. They're all very common sense of what they do. Just look at it a little bit and you'll see how it works. It's probably one of the easier guns I've ever worked on. Even timing, it's not hard. The biggest problem I see with the gun personally, the one springs commonly break, but it's not a bad design. It's just, I think those springs will fatigue over time the way it's set up. That's not a big deal. To me, the spring that if they changed it would actually completely change the gun and make it much, much more reliable for fast shooting would be the hammer, the bolt and the sear spring. It's a V spring with two little hands coming off of it. If they went to something like what Uberti uses, where you drill a hole and you actually could put a coil spring and all that, like they do on the hands on a Uberti single action army, for just the bolt, I think this gun would be dramatically improved. You could fire it as fast as you would ever want to, and it would never miss a beat.
Yep.
It is a very good gun. Don't let the whole oh my God, if it's out of time or has any issues, it's going to be really, really hard to work on. It's not. It's really not.
And the one thing I've still never took apart that I wonder about is the root revolver. I mean, I've cleaned it, but I've never actually.
Yeah, I've heard that they're so hard to work on too, but everything in my whole life I've ever heard that, it's never been true.
The one thing that might be bad about the root is the size of the parts.
Yeah,
because that thing is tiny.
Yeah.
But at least the root pistol, I'm not talking about the rifle, but
what were your thoughts about the Patterson? Not that bad?
I hate that gun.
I know you hate that gun.
I love it for its historical I love that the gun. I like the gun because it's historical. Of course, I've never had an original. I have had the Pieta. I have not had the Uberti. Duke has both of them, and he swears by the Uberti. I've had the Pieta. I still have the Pieta. And the first time we got it, cocked the hammer, drug the bolt across there, just gouged the living daylights out of the cylinder. Was not in time from the factory. And I thought, so it got a lemon. But then I talked to Duke, and he's like, no, mine's the exact same way. And
I would give you my thoughts on that Patterson, but Garrett's mom is still watching, and I don't want to give her an apoplexy tonight.
I got to.
So
I really want to get one just because I want one. I've never had a Patterson. The only Pattersons I've ever seen in real life was at the show the other day. Well, a couple months ago. And they're pretty nice. The real ones. Anyway.
Okay.
But
I'll say this.
House prices.
About the replicas, I think Caleb worked on that thing, taking it apart and putting it back together. And each time, the first time was a real nightmare because there's no videos or anything,
there's
on
nothing
it.
to explain how it works.
And so it's not one of those guns like a single action army where it all makes sense how it goes back in there.
Gotcha.
And so I would say the Patterson is what people say that the Lightning is. Okay. And so, but what he did was it was take it apart, put it back together, take it apart, put it back together. And I think it took him a month or more to get that thing where he wanted it in time.
Get it back to perfect.
Then we went to load it, and it was dead soft lead, 375 round ball.
Yeah, you guys broke the
loading tool the first time, so it was a little bit of quality control there. And I've shot it 12 times in video, on film. Never shot it again. Need to, but I love the gun. I would probably like a U-Birdie. I know I'd like an original, but that Pieta is just, you have nightmares about taking that thing apart and what it's going to be like, especially after you've dumped $1,000 into the thing. It should come from the factory in time,
Yeah, especially for the price. But
go ahead, Duke. I know that you've done all kinds of good stuff to yours.
I spent a lot of time with the Dremel tool. And you got to have a Dremel tool because one thing Pieta gets right is they use good hard steel.
Mm-hmm.
But
that's what Pieta does right. They actually do. I think they do color case harden their hammers and their loading levers.
After I was out there at the fort that I worked at, the old trading post, and I pulled that thing out of my holster one day to show somebody, and the barrel didn't come with it because a wedge had fallen out on me somewhere else.
Oh, no.
I took that wedge when I found it and took it to the blacksmith shop, and I peened it down with a hammer until it wouldn't quite fit in the slot. Mm-hmm. And then I hammered it into the slot. And when I got done doing that, I laid that wedge on the anvil and I peened it over so it would never come out of the barrel again.
Golly, Duke.
And that gun will probably never be fired again because I'll never get it apart to load it.
No, geez, I might have to try to convince you to sell me that thing or something.
He probably would.
If it wasn't for the fact I use it for living history, I probably would, yeah, but...
I've been wanting one of those. Now, there is one thing I'd like to say about U-Birdie and Pietas for people. So, since I have so many originals, personally, U-Birdie, if you wanted something that's the closest to an original you can get, U-Birdie's parts are very close to the same size as the original parts, so much so that you can exchange parts if you absolutely had to. Not all, but some. U-Birdie is much closer to original dimensions than Pieta. Pieta is still a great gun, don't get me wrong, but it's not the same size. They're close.
On Colts, you're right, but I think it's backwards on Remingtons.
It might be backwards on Remingtons. I've never messed with
Remington Pietas are closer. But you're right on Colts. You're definitely right on Colts.
Matter of fact, that'd be kind of nice to know because I need parts for that Remington, wherever the heck it is. Remington.
Caleb said it's 2 days. I don't remember if that's what he said it took to time it. I remember it being longer. Might be 2 days that it took him to get it back together. I can't remember. Any Patterson. Caleb should do a video on how to. Yes, he should.
Yes,
camera, and he can do it. He's had it apart and back together enough times now. He should know.
I would love to see. That would actually be a really good thing to do. I'm going to do it with the 77 of taking a gun apart, show you the parts, how they work, and put it back together for people to actually get a video if they get a gun and they don't know how to take it apart, put it back together. I'm going to start doing that myself. So
the funny thing when it comes to the Patterson, I need to remake my Patterson video. It had some errors in it, and I've actually gone back and cut a lot of stuff out of it with the new YouTube editing machine. But like I said, I've only shot 12 rounds through it. But what I find is, and I know Duke's probably going to disagree with me on this one, the Walker gets all the praise and the glory that I think for being the innovative gun. I feel like the Patterson should have more of that than the Walker because the Walker only had 1,000 rounds. Go for it, Duke. Tell me what you think.
Well, Walker gets crazy because that's the first successful one for Colt, and rightly so. It's a simplified version. But the Walker got a trial by fire. Had it been tested before getting put into service, it probably would have never came about.
Mm-hmm.
But it was one of those that's like, oh, well, we got this war going on. Might as well throw them out there and see what they can do.
Yes. But I feel
And
like I wish they would tell the Patterson story more, because I feel like there's a lot more to
they
the
always
Patterson
skip over the
story.
Patterson. They talk about it, but it's always very short and skipped over.
thing of it is, there's just not a lot of records left from that.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, you talk about guys that have 2 Patterson rifles and pistols, right? That are shooting prairie dogs out west. There's
that's used out west, but I mean, like how many were made and stuff, that kind of gets, there's not a lot of detail that I found on it. It's been lost to time, but yeah, there's accounts of the Pattersons being used out west.
Yeah. And in the swamps, and then actually in the Mexican-American War, probably more than, would you say in the Mexican-American War, they're using them more than Walkers?
They were being used, but I don't know if they were being used more than the Walkers. I know Sam Walker, when he was scouting for Taylor early in the war, when he was still a Texas Mounted Volunteer, they lost several Pattersons in the Rio Grande. That doesn't specify pistols or rifles. It just says Colts repeating revolvers. Or no, it does specify. Yeah, Colt. It was Colt's patent pistols. There was several that went into California with Kearney's Dragoons, and they get mentioned in there. But the Walkers kind of get a little bit more mention, and some of that. And like I said, they're a new gun, new arm, new type of bullet.
Yeah.
But it wasn't the mounted rifles that got them. It was the Texas Rangers that were at the time Texas Mounted Volunteers.
I just watched the CN Arsenal video on the first model Dragoon. Man, that made me feel good.
I saw it come out.
It's basically just a Walker. I'm like, okay.
When those come out, I always get inundated and bombarded with people asking me, and I don't even always answer in the comments. Did you see that? I generally don't watch them. I try not to watch any. I used to. I try not to watch anything on something that I might have to go back and revisit, because I don't want to accidentally plagiarize. I have done it before on accident and didn't even know I did it. On a Winchester Model 97 video, I literally took words right out of Othniel's mouth and did not know I'd done it until after I went back and watched. And I was like, oh, because stuff he says sticks in my head so good. So I have not actually watched it.
But at the same time, even if the chances of you still saying the exact same thing, because you're probably reading the same information they are.
Yeah,
it's going to be likely that it's going to cross. But I mean, I just thought it was so cool. I was like, oh, it's so neat to see my baby on television, on YouTube. I absolutely love this thing, by the way. This is my second favorite gun I own.
And that is the first model.
Yeah. It's an original first model Dragoon. And
I know that Snapper has been wanting to talk to Duke about this, and keeps telling me, ask Duke on live, and I keep forgetting. So go ahead and ask him all the questions you need to ask about the Fleck Dragoon, and if Duke knows anything.
I actually talked to him on messaging, and I think I sent him all the pictures of the things I was talking about, like how the sizes are different.
Right.
So on mine, let me find the camera real quick. Mine has the large serial number, and then it's also the large on both sides. And the serial numbers on these guns, they started out really small, then they went to a large. And the really smalls have it on both sides. And then when they went to the large, it went underneath the screw instead of on both sides of the screws, except for a handful of guns. A very few of these guns, and they're not in order. When we first looked up the Fleck Dragoon, we were like, okay, what is this? They say it was a replacement for the Walker, the guns that the military ordered that went directly in replacement of a Walker. Mine did not do that. Mine is not a military gun. Mine is a civilian gun. And so are many others that we found. But at the same time, the address on the barrel marking is upside down. So if you look at a Walker, it's in the exact same position as a Walker. When they went to the first model and the little bit past the earliest parts of the first model, they flipped it around. So you'd have to read it So like mine, you have to read it from this side. It would say address near the cylinder. In the later Dragoons, it's on the other side. The address starts up here. It starts up here and then goes this way. And it's just, imagine it being flipped. And all the ones that are flipped that have the big numbers here, they're all in the exact same thing. But they're rare. Like, well, they're not rare, but I guarantee you could find the model right next to the serial number before and after this, and they would be different. It would be the big script with the lines on the bottom, because you could find these from the 1,000 serial number range to the almost 8,000 serial number range, because they made 7,000 first models, but you have to add that to the 1,100 walkers. So mine was one of the later ones. Mine's in the mid 7,000s. So I've seen these randomly in place. It's almost like they're just shot out randomly. And I was thinking of many ways this would happen and why. The only thing personally that makes sense, I don't think it was a military placement, because mine's a civilian gun. It has no military inspection markings at all. I think that these were guns that were sent to prominent people for test and evaluation. And the reason I think that is many companies, even mine, we would send stuff out for evaluation when we were first starting something. But we would always, and I've seen this every company I've ever even worked for or myself, we would make the serial number look bigger so it looks like we are more successful than we are when you send out test and evaluations.
Right.
I think that's what this is. I think that they had certain guns, when they hit a certain area, say, hey, we need to test and evaluate these, probably around the 15,000 or 15,000. So you're looking at the 400, first 4 to 500 made. And they just gave them random serial numbers to look bigger. And then mailed them out to prominent people to be tested. Because not all of these have some have military markings, but it could have went to the military to be tested. Some could have went anywhere. And what sucks is, since the fire happened in 1864, all these records are gone. I can't even get a letter on this. All the letter says is, we don't have anything on your gun. We believe it's made in this and this year. The serial number would say it was made in 1849. But if it was a test and evaluation gun, it would have probably been made in 1848 or late 1847. I really, it's the only thing that makes sense to me. Because if you did have other lines where they're being marked, why would they have, all the other ones with big numbers don't have the barrel to be changed? And then being that the barrel marking's upside down, it couldn't have been like all the barrels get marked and then all the frames get marked. It would all had to have been done by the exact same person on each gun in a line.
Right.
I mean, one person did all the marking. But why would a few random ones have a different markings in different areas, unless there was like one line that never got used? And it might have had the small letters, like instead of the big ones, and the little ones wore out, so they just threw in the little ones. And that was a line that never got used, and every great now and then it got used. That's possible, maybe. But nothing else makes sense. Nothing else makes sense.
I don't know. The one thing I would say possibly is the earliest models of Dragoon, be it Whitneyville or be it first model. I'm not sure when the first military testing or stampings were put on them. Because when you talk about the Walker,
has no inspection.
It's got a military stamp, but it's not like approved military stamp. What do you know, Duke?
No, they're marked company, and then that was. And they're marked. I don't even think they wound up going to the companies they were marked for.
And some of them are marked US 1847.
Yeah, well, that was a standard. Yeah.
But did all the markings for them, not the military. The military didn't even do any inspections on them.
So
they did do an inspection, but that was just to make sure that they were there and accounted for before they sent them out.
But they weren't like normal inspection where they test all the barrels and all the pieces and stamp.
Oh God, no, because if they'd done that on the Walker, it would have never saw the frontline service.
And they did do it on the Dragoons, and
it could have been that that's what these were. But why would they be so randomized? You think you would think by the first model, like mine being in the 7,000s, in 1849 that the military was already stamping these things. So why didn't the military stamp these if they were a direct trade-off for a walker?
Here's the thing. The first military testing I know of, and like I said, I'm probably going to stick my foot in my mouth here because there's probably one before it, is in October of 1850 because Colt brought 2 guns to that. He brought his 3rd Model Dragoon and he brought his Ranger, his 51 Navy. And I don't know that before October of 1850 you would find many military markings on them at all. So I don't know how you would distinguish a 1st Model Dragoon civilian from military. I'm probably wrong, but that's just my thoughts on it.
But Colt had contracts pretty early.
Yeah, and I get they were contracts because he had the contracts for after the 1,000. He had another 1,000 contract on the first Whitneyvilles. But like
1,500.
Yeah. So the thing is, did they stamp those with any military markings? I don't remember that on them.
I don't know, but I remember, it was like he had 1,500 that he was going to deliver before the middle of 1848 and 2,500 before the end of the year.
Mm-hmm. And what you got to remember is the distance between the 1st model and the 3rd Model Dragoon is like so tight, so close.
Yeah, they didn't make very many 2nd models at all.
Yeah,
and it could become down to that the reason yours got the weird stamping on it is it might have been something they threw together out of parts that were laying around the factory. That's been known to happen many times with Colt.
And as I recall, doesn't your cylinder act like it's a cut-off Walker cylinder, you thought? Because the cylinder scene is not all on there. It looks to me more like
the cylinder scene is moved too far forward. And it actually looks like a cut burst Walker cylinder.
And
if I had to guess, that's what I would say it would be just by looking at it. And that actually gives more credence to the fact of this. The serial number on this gun is sunken in very deeply.
Mm-hmm.
It almost looks like it was shot. But if it was a Walker cylinder, it probably would have had a serial number there of some sort or anything else. They would have. Did they put the cylinders on the serial number on the Walker?
Yeah, they had them on the cylinder. I'm pretty certain they had them on there.
Round that serial number off and restamp the serial number to be sent out. If they did take these Walker cylinder, and put it on a 1st Model Dragoon, because if it would have burst, but only burst a little bit, like cracked the front of it, and you turned it down, it'd be perfectly usable.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think when they burst the whole top open, like when you put smokeless in these things, they just
I agree.
Open them up.
But that's another thing that doesn't make sense on mine. And I've seen a couple others the same way, and they've never had a real excuse for it. Why the scene is too far forward. Because the scene actually acts like the cylinder would be this long instead of cut back.
But the other thing that could be, and may not be a test and evaluation, but it may be a traveling sales display pistol.
Mm-hmm.
That would be, and that would make sense, because if you were showing people, wouldn't it make your company look so better? Look how many we've sold. Hey, and you're only at 1,500 to 2,000, and then they make it look like we sold 10,000 of these things.
Have you determined what month in 49 that was made?
I have no idea.
Because you got to remember, this is
1849. That's all they give me.
49 is technically the first year production for Colt. I mean, you got the Walkers going back to 47, but you didn't really get fired up until 48. It might be a little later in first year production, but there was also a factory move in 49. And so the idea that things could get mixed up and parts be thrown together from different guns is absolutely feasible in my mind.
Yeah, well, he had that little bitty place in Connecticut there that's still there. The building's still there.
Yeah, the Grove Street. But
yeah, he was producing them in 48. He turned them out in 48. But then he kind of moved into the big factory in 49.
Actually, in 48, he went to Pearl Street. Right when he left Whitneyville, he went to Pearl Street.
That's right. Yeah.
He was there for only like 4 months before he went over to Grove Street. Grove Street still exists. And then it was in 55 that he got to the big factory. But the thing is, like I said, when you've moved technically 3 times in 2 years, there's a lot of gun pieces, 2 times in 2 years. There's a lot of gun pieces and parts that are going to be mixed and matched. But like you said, it's kind of interesting to see that. I wouldn't be surprised if that was, especially that early, if that was a Walker cylinder that was repurposed. They probably had a bunch of them laying around.
I would think they probably would have. And you think if they would have ordered them, they probably would have ordered more than they needed, just for doing it, because it'd probably be cheaper. The more you make, the cheaper it is. Plus, you're going to keep getting more contract. He knew that. So the idea of cutting this could have been made at the time when they were having completely decided you had to cut down the cylinder.
Yeah.
But then it depends when it was made. It really does. If it was a test and evaluation, it could be a very, very early one that shares parts with the Walker where it was just turned down parts.
Well, the thing is, and here's another thought. We always talk about the 1,000 to the military, 100 on the civilian market. But according to Rock Island Auction, the highest number they found on the civilian market is 75. But that was the highest recorded one. So you're talking 1075, but they thought there are 25 that were used in the Whitneyville and later on Walker. 25, basically 25 guns worth of parts that were shipped out to use for other guns, even though they'd already made them. They were never.
Yeah, because they would have seen instantly like, hey, there's something dramatically wrong with these. A, the weights. A, this. B, this, that. That I guarantee you, before they were done making those civilian Walkers, if the civilian Walkers were the very last ones, they already knew what they were going to do. They're going to cut them down.
Yeah.
And it would make sense to me that they probably had those 75 like in the process of still being completely just assembled, and just said, hey, after that, just cut those down, make them shorter, because people are going to want the shorter version.
It's possible. This is all speculation, by the way,
It's all
guys.
speculation.
We don't have anything to back this up at all.
Unfortunately, since the factory burned down, a lot of this information is gone. It just doesn't exist. Matter of fact, them even saying the date this is made is just speculation, technically. They know when these serial numbers were made, but they don't know if they were out of order. They put them in order. Any of it. Nobody really, truly knows.
And I think something I find very interesting about the earlier stuff is they, at one point, especially earlier on in Colt's factory history, they would assemble everything, proof it, put the proof marks on it, then disassemble it and stamp it together, as in all these pieces are fit together to this gun.
Yeah, they did, and they did that because they wanted to stamp it before they put any finish on the gun.
Yeah,
they stamp it, proof it. Hey, it works. Now let's finish it and make it look pretty.
And serialize it at the very end, so all the parts go together, even though they're
the
technically.
They proofed it, and the part failed for some reason, but it wasn't something major. Like say one of the holes was off a little bit, or the gear was off a little bit. They say, hey, this doesn't work, send it back. If it's fixable, and we'll bring it back. That could be what's going on with these guns.
Okay.
They didn't pass the first inspection.
Let me pass this to Duke, because he might have more on this than us.
Right.
We've always talked a lot about interchangeable parts in the Colt factory. And guys, pardon me if we ramble on here a little bit. We haven't been to the comments, I know, but this is just how us three have conversations. So when you have interchangeable parts in the Colt factory, we talk about the 51 Navy going to London and everything and being advertised as interchangeable parts. But at the same time, we also attribute interchangeable parts to Elijah Root and him bringing in the machinery to do it, right? Am I wrong? So we don't have Elijah Root working in the factory till 55.
Right.
So should Walkers and first model Dragoons be interchangeable? Or should that all be hand-fitted, like the Pattersons?
Right, yeah, because, the Pattersons were kind of a mix of interchangeable and had to be hand-tuned because they're still doing on this. They're getting into that mass production system. So there's still a level of hand-fitting, which is still standard, even though with you birdies and stuff, they're interchangeable. You still got to hand-foot everything.
Did it again. Get them.
I'm tired.
I understand, man.
Carrying on.
And that word's in the Bible too, so it's not bad. I've heard a Baptist preacher use it in church on Sunday.
Back to interchangeable parts.
Right. So on the interchangeable parts, they're still going to have to be hand fitted. So I think Root perfected it. perfected it down, got better. But in those early days, that was kind of the idea, was that they'd be interchangeable with minimal amount of fitting.
Mm-hmm.
Because that was one thing that, if I remember right, in the contract on the military for the walkers, is that they wanted them to be able to be interchanged with minimal fitting.
Mm-hmm. We have our first patent for the change on the Lincoln Miller machine. Root did not invent the Lincoln Miller machine. He changed it. He made it where it would make rifling and it would make all the parts the same. He patents his change to it in 1855 when they move into the new factory. So
right,
I have to agree with you there that it's probably not all interchangeable until at least 55. Even then, it's probably not completely interchangeable, but it's closer.
I kind of wish now that we could find another first model, because it'd be kind of fun to see what parts interchange.
I know where there's a third model.
I mean, technically, it should. Yeah. I told you to get it. I don't need another Dragoon. Well, actually, I don't have a third model. But that would be really fun to try. I'd love to see how much interchangeability there is. Now, I do know, like I've told you guys this before, mine does no longer use the V-spring. Mine has a flat spring that was probably done sometime around the Civil War. And it actually has a third model hammer. So the original hammer is missing and the original spring is missing. It still has the hole, but what they did was somebody drilled into it and tapped it and put a third model hammer on it.
So you got a roller?
Okay.
Yeah, it has a roller on it. So that's
I gotta say,
nice.
because that's sounding like a very much at the end of a production run, had a bunch of spare parts and just clamored them all together.
Mine has the hole for the leaf spring, like right there. So it had a leaf spring on it. Somebody actually did this later on. I really think that this was done around the Civil War, because the holes on the cylinder have also been elongated just a little bit to make it so you can use a third model. Even though it doesn't have the normal notch with the lead in and everything, you can actually use a third model, a normal style bolt in this gun, and it works fine. And so you could use a new bolt and a back hammer. So that tells me that most likely the gun was broken at one time and it had to be fixed, and it was probably fixed in the field.
If that was a military gun, and I don't know if this counts because of not having the military markings, but in 1858 there's a change. It's not a change, I should say, another test. And in 58 the test comes. And this is what I have to talk to Duke about, because you see all these pictures of the 51 Navy style latch on third model Dragoons. And we didn't know where that happened. And then I found a reference to, it's actually in the Pate book on the 1860 Army here. They're talking about in 1858 when the military brings in a bunch of them and they do a complete change because they set them up for 4 screws for stocks. And they also add 51 Navy loading levers. And there's also reports of them changing springs on first and second model Dragoon or first models. So
I didn't know that. I didn't hear that report.
There was a big retrofit that took place in 1858. Didn't really matter though, because the 1860 Army came out and just blew them out of the water in 2 years. So
this could have been done by the Colt factory in a way.
Yeah,
maybe.
Like you said,
I have the original loading lever on mine. Mine still has the original.
Yeah. So that doesn't make any sense. The thing
about the Civil War too is, like, I believe one of my 51 Navies was in the Civil War and it was on a roster, but it wasn't a military gun. You could buy a gun if you were an officer. It didn't have to be military inspected at the time. Depends who you were and what not. So there are a lot of civilian guns that were in the military. It just, they were bought by the person, not by the military.
Yeah. That's interesting.
So that's the only thing that makes sense to me, is that this was used in the Civil War for why it went the way it did. Because a lot of these guns ended up in the Civil War. These were pretty cherished guns at that time, especially if it would have been in the South. I have no idea much. I don't know much history on this gun. The only thing I can tell you about this gun, that this gun did go across Murphy's and Rock Island Auction Company's guns, or both of those places at one time.
Oh, yeah.
And then I ended up getting it. And now it's fine.
I'm going to go over here because I got a comment from Awesome Moot Gaming, and he's got a flintlock question. I don't usually answer flintlock questions because that's the other guy on the channel who's not here right now. But he says, "Sup, guys, just bought military heritage. Good job. pistol and I'm trying to make my own bullets, but when I pour the lead, only a little bit goes in. Do you guys know how to fix that? I'm using
Warm
fire.
your mold.
He's
Heat your
using
mold
fire.
up.
He's using fire. He may try MAP gas. What I would suggest is get you a good Lee melting pot. Electric.
Yeah, don't use MEP if you've got aluminum block mold. That won't end well.
Yeah,
No.
you're gonna melt your stuff. MAP gas gets way too hot. I would use even regular propane torch can melt aluminum.
Yeah.
So
see, you're heating your mold. I wouldn't heat the mold. I would heat maybe I'm misunderstanding him, but I would try to heat.
Well, you got to preheat the mold to get it to
Yeah.
where it'll pour in. So what I do is I take my mold, and when the lead gets molten, I shove the mold in there, and the lead is going to crystallize and adhere to that. Once it drops off and the lead don't stick to that mold anymore, when you dip it in there, you're ready to pour.
Yep,
And
that's how I do it.
Like I said, if you're going old fashioned, yeah, use a cauldron. But if you're just wanting to make bullets, it's much more convenient just to get yourself a Lee melting pot.
And they used to
use
not
electric.
cost that much, but I bet they're pretty spendy now.
Yeah, it could
I
be
got
too.
a bottom pour melting pot. It's not a very big one. I didn't find it on the Lee website, but I found it by just looking over the internet. I paid $70 for it.
That's not bad.
That's
Brand
not bad
spanking
at all.
new. It's not very
I
big.
think
though.
mine's a
It's
20 pounder.
not very big. But it is a thing, and it works.
Mine'll do. No, mine's a 10-pound pot. Mine's a 10-pound pot.
I don't know what size mine is, but it's the pot's only about like that big around. It's not very big, but it is
Yeah,
a
and
bottom.
about yay deep. It'd
Yeah.
probably hold about
Yeah.
a pop can full of lead.
Yeah. That's about it.
Yeah, it's 10, 15 pounder.
That's what.
And it was. I saw that as being pretty cheap, so I bought it.
But at the
And-
same time, don't get your lead too hot.
Yeah, because if you're getting a lot of dross on top, you're too hot.
And if
Or
you're
your bullets
using
will
a
get too big and they won't fit inside of
Yeah.
a Griswold and Gunnison, Garrett.
Yeah.
I used the same
And-
bullet snapper. I used like 100 of them from the exact
I
same
know.
cast, and they fit just fine in a
I'm
Pieta.
still trying to figure out. You know what? I don't know what the heck happened. It doesn't matter though. Actually,
But if you see a bright rainbow on top of your lead of colors, you're too hot. If you're seeing just a gold color, you're about right.
Yeah. You
and if
don't
it's
want-
boiling, it's a little way too hot.
If it's boiling, you got more problems than.
You got problems.
Mo Milky said, great show. Gray Pilgrim said, I got into guns for the same reason. Jalen loves cars, gadget factor, but I ain't rich and can't hire a mechanic. A very good point. And then let's see, we go on here. He said, Gray Pilgrim said that the mother will smite thee. American, where'd he go? Colt pioneered the American system. Gun makers all over Europe wanted to buy the machine tools for that. Yeah, and they did. And he
did.
basically leased route out to London for. He actually helped them make a lot of their rifles of the.
Being into machining, Root is one of my personal heroes. I think he's amazing what he did. It is, especially for the time. And that's another thing. This gun being made in 1849 is amazing how good it is. Like, it's so well finished. Everything looks beautiful. I mean, it still shocks me to this day that their capabilities were as good as they were at the time. And even during the single action army 1880s, because I have a video on where I took a grip off of 51 Navy, original 51 Navy, and then the grip off my single action army, and they fit perfectly. I mean, obviously, you know, the 51 Navy grip is on the single action army, but the screws lined up, the screws fit, everything fit. And that was in the earliest one was made in 1863, right before the place burned down.
Yep.
And just the idea of that being done that long ago, to me, is amazing. Just absolutely amazing. There's no fitting. There was no like having to force something over. They fit like it was perfect.
And if you guys want a book that covers that, go to Haven and Belden. Because some things Haven and Belden doesn't cover deeply, but they cover patents and machinery very well. And also William Hoseley, Colt, The Making of American Legend. Both those books cover really
I have
well.
an R.L. Wilson book. Don't buy R.L. Wilson books, but the pictures in them are amazing.
They do have good pictures.
And the pictures are amazing. Just pretend there's no words. He actually has a lot of pictures of the machinery and the gauging they use, like stuff that they made to make sure that, you know, the hammer was made correctly and the barrels were made correctly. Beautiful book. A matter of fact, I found out that there's this Colt single action army that when you cock it, it ejects around. They made.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I want one of those. I actually found a Dragoon. I still haven't figured out how this works, but it's a third model and it has these little dots on the top of it. It looked like the cylinder was cut in half of these little dots. Almost looks like somebody welded it together. But apparently, that was a new indexing system that they tried, and I've been trying to figure that thing out as well.
Yep. I've had issues with Wilson as recently as last week.
Yeah.
Dude,
Well,
I do my study for guns way ahead of time, and we're about to close down here, guys. Here in about 10 minutes, we're going to be longer than we planned, but Duke's about to go to sleep. But
yeah, I'm going to have to cut out here maybe quicker than that.
I talked to Duke months ago because we started talking about the 1862 Pocket Navy, and I was reading a book by Breslin at the time on how that the 1862 Pocket Navy was probably made in 1865 instead of 1862, like a lot of people think. Some people even think it's made in 1853. There's this big conglomeration, and every single person has their quote-unquote proof. I spent months on this, thinking about it, reading about it, of the little information I could find, looking for information, finally leaning to the idea that this is 65. Has to be made in 65. Can't be made in 62. No, it's not made in 53 because Charles Shoemaker, in the book that Duke sent me called Old Model Colt Pocket Pistol Old Model Variations, he gave a very good argument on why it can't be 53. And so I'm all set up.
That would have predated the 1860 Army.
Yeah, and so it's all set up that I'm going to have this. This is going to be in my video. It's going to be 65. And so I finally do one more search. I find another article, made in 65. Read the whole article. At the bottom, it says, we got this information from R.L. Wilson. So
Poor
now
Garrett.
Then I go looking around and I find a record of a box set of 1862 Pocket Navies being given to a captain in the Army by Samuel Colt. So, you know, it has to be before 1865 now. So I don't know for sure what's going on.
Yeah, I felt I could feel the frustration the second you texted me. You said, I'm lost now. And you just sent me the article and I'm reading through it. As soon as I hit R.L. Wilson, I was like, really? That guy has ruined so much. God, I hate that guy so much. And hate's a strong word, but screw him.
Anybody who's had a fight with anybody on the Colt forum knows how to hate R.L. Wilson.
Yeah.
But anyway, it looks like we're about to lose old Dookie Son.
And I got early shift tomorrow.
You about to leave us?
Yeah, I'll finish it out here.
Okay, well, you only got 9 minutes to go anyway. Let's get over here to the comments. Soylent Green is in the room. Hey, Soylent. I didn't watch like I was saying before, I didn't watch the Othias video on the Dragoons, but I did click on it and go down, just scroll down through the comments. Like, there's nothing wrong with Othias' videos. I love them. But like I said, I'll plagiarize them to death without even knowing it if I watch all the way through them. But I did scroll through and I seen Soylent Green laying down some knowledge, and I thought, yeah, that's our Soylent Green. He was laying down some knowledge on the second model Colt Walker, I believe, if that was you. And he's in here tonight, and he said, by the way, I love it when you come on here, Soylent. You give us a lot of information. Yeah, definitely hard to tell when mods were done that aren't recorded in books. Lots of Civil War guns, clothing, everything was modded. Used, worn out, and then reenacting became big in the 20s through the 80s. Yeah, I got to agree with you there. So it's hard to tell what's what.
Yep. Yeah, and who knows? I mean, this thing could have probably been modified sometime as a reacting gun. Like during the 1920s, 30s, and 40s, any reacting, they use original guns. If they had broke this thing, that's probably why they would have fixed it. So who knows?
Gray Pilgrim
it would be really, really nice to hook up a machine, though, and be able to see what happened.
just really know what happened.
And this is also the gun that has the fingerprint on it in the middle. You can still see there a fingerprint on the barrel.
Yeah.
This is one really fun gun. I'm actually this is probably when it comes to my most prized possession, my probably hits the most prized possession, but the single action army back there, that's my favorite gun I've ever owned. That was the only gun, they say don't meet your heroes. That was the only gun that was like, wow, this is actually better than I expected it to be by a lot.
Yeah, you should make a more in-depth video just on the study of that thumbprint. That would be cool.
Oh, me too. I've been wanting to. My dad asked me to go take it to the local police department and see if they could have it all like done up better so I could actually see what it looks like. I guarantee there's no way to figure out who was on it because they probably died 150 years ago or, Yeah. But yeah, he actually asked, he said, you should do that just to get the fingerprint, a nice perfect copy of it to be printed next to the gun.
Gray Pilgrim said, Gina, you're a good mother. My compliments. He said, Garrett is a scholar. Don't know about that. He said, and he keeps making me look for books. Guys, I don't know anything about these books unless I go to these two guys first. I go to Duke for books because it's part of his job. It's just to look at these books and see what's right. And I always check with him before I buy a historical book. So, and he has some good book reviews on his channel for Cap and Ball Books if you want to go over there.
One right now.
What's that?
One book review video.
I meant to say he reviews several books in said book review video.
Right.
He said gun books are pricey. Books. He said 1862. Colt died in 1862. Yes, but if the theory is correct, and I'm not saying it is yet because I may go back to the 1865 theory before it's done. But if the theory is correct, they're made in the exact same numbers as the 62 Pocket Police and the same serial number range, which would mean that they started making them in 61, even though they're called 62s.
Yep.
Mo Milky said, any Whitlow fans out there? I have the Grant and Lee. I don't even know what a Whitlow is. Maybe it's misspelled. Do you guys know anything about that? Whitloe?
No. I did hear about a really cool gun that I actually really want now. It was a Cooper revolver. It looks like a 49 Colt pocket model, just like a 49 pocket model, but it's double action.
You showed me that. Yeah, that'd be cool.
I was talking to somebody on I think it was actually on Dustin because he has my 49 pocket right now. It's in the review, and the guy was like, I have a Cooper, and I thought he said like a copper or something. I was like, I'm thinking it was maybe a brass frame gun or something. It's like, what is that? And he said, oh, it's this. Man, I want one now. It looks just like if you took a 49 pocket and made it double action. It is exact perfect. It's amazing. I need one.
Yep. Gray Pilgrim said, Snapper, you rock.
Oh, thanks. I try.
Soylent Green said, I learned a lot in books like you and Duelist 1954 videos and articles. And yeah, I was in the CN Arsenal comments. They do a good job, but there was a few small things passed over. Happens in every video. I promise you they edit out more than they put on the screen. Your Colt videos and telling us which books you've referenced have made me buy a few.
For crying out loud.
You okay there, Duke?
Oh, it must be prom night.
I didn't even know there was a school where you lived.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're making all kinds of hellacious noise out there.
Whitworth.
They honk it.
Okay, he was talking about if any of us Whitworth fans. I'm a fan of Whitworth. Never even held one.
I love the man the man that's actually named. He's an amazing person. He actually designed his own thread pattern that you could still get stuff for today, but it's an antique thread pattern.
All right, guys, we're about to head on out of here in 4 minutes. We got a few more comments to get through. If you got any questions, throw them on in. Gina Wood said, I love all my kids, and Duke, you have been adopted.
Oh, not
he's half asleep down there. And then that's all the comments we have for now. So let's get on out of here. I got one thing I'll show off before we go. I actually went over and got it and haven't used it. This is my new shotgun. My new non-NFA paperwork shotgun. And I may actually, seeing as I like this gun so much, guys, I may do a flintlock review before Ethan gets back. I know I said I wouldn't, but this little darling is one that I'm just dying to shoot. I'm going to try to run it with my Northwest trade gun. And actually, Caleb has the full-length version, a double-barrel shotgun flintlock like this. This is one of those India-made replicas. I'm going to see how well it works. Had to buy it secondhand, so everything was already drilled. It does have a little bit of a lock issue on the right lock it has an ear that's too long that needs to be filed down. But just look at that thing. That is a beast of a handgun.
Is it 16 gauge, Garrett?
No, this is a 20 gauge. It's a 62 caliber.
Oh, gotcha.
But it's I don't know. I actually was looking for a Kettling because I was trying to find something for the fur trade era. And I asked Duke, I said, is there any chance there might have been a double barrel pistol? And he said, well, it could be possible. And I said, that's good enough for me.
Well, the Howdah pistol, but I don't think they were flintlock, were they? They were cap lock, weren't they?
Well,
they were cap lock.
Before the Howdah, this was popular all the way back to the 1650s.
Yeah, I'm sure they were around.
Whiskey in the Jar, he talks about both barrels on his pistol. Because, I mean, why wouldn't you? I mean, it'd be more expensive, but if you're already a highwayman that has a horse and a saddle in the 1700s anyway, why in the world wouldn't you have two barrels in one gun? It just makes sense.
Right.
Well, they probably cut down a shotgun, most likely. I mean, wouldn't that probably be the easier way of doing it?
Well,
Did they make them like that, or do you think they were just cut down?
Oh, yeah. No, they definitely made them like this. This was It was a really big deal for the whole flintlock.
I really need to go back farther in history and start learning more of the stuff from way back when. There's so much interesting stuff back then.
Shotgun like that's going to be pretty much a straight grip, not going to have as much curve to it as that does.
Yeah, and this is
you're right.
When I got to looking into them, I didn't know how common they were, but they're actually, like I said, really common if you could afford it, because two shots.
Two shots.
One thing got me though is the triggers on that. It looks like there's not a lot of room in there to hit them triggers.
Actually, I would say with this back one being longer, my finger touches, but in reality, it feels about the same as a double barrel shotgun.
Okay.
But, there's not a whole lot of room in there. Trigger guard could be bigger, but, when you're getting into these India replicas, what I do is I buy them and then I make them what I want after I get them.
There you go.
Because they're so cheap. All right, guys, we got 1 minute. And Gray Pilgrim said, get some sleep, guys. Duke is fading. Yeah, you need to. Soylent Green said there are two triggers. Yeah. And Gray Pilgrim said I have several flintlocks, but that is cool. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Garrett, use some tape on your wrist. I can load her down to where it won't hurt me too bad. I'm not trying to kill any Bengal tigers trying to climb up the elephant. So anyway, guys, that is 2 hours. I appreciate these guys coming out. We got right quick, Duke. He's got some videos coming up. I know he's been working on. You got what's coming up first?
I don't know. I haven't been working on that hard.
Okay, that's good enough. How about you, Snapper? What's coming up next?
Well, just like last time, the Untitled video. I have to apologize to everybody. There's been a lot going on in my family, and I've been really lazy at the same time because of it, and playing with some new toys here and there. But I promise you those videos, I have a lot of videos from this Dragoon, another shooting at this Dragoon, to my 49 pocket, to the Griswold and Gunnison, a bunch of stuff, a bunch of stuff. Even a comparison of the Griswold and Gunnison replica again to the original shooting, all that stuff. I just got to edit it all and get it out to you guys, and I will. I promise.
Yeah. All right, guys. We actually have not a firearm review coming up at 7:30 in the morning. It's an accessory review. Sorry about that, but we're getting very close to the end of our physical. We stop in June for harvest, so we have a couple of things coming out next week. I need to get with Snapper, make sure we got it worked out, but we're going to have a live chat for the next 2 Saturdays in a row instead of every other Saturday like we normally do. Next Saturday, we have Trooper Cody and Steve, hopefully. We're going to be doing all about Ned Kelly. At least that's what we have scheduled. We'll have to make sure it all works out. Hopefully, if everything works out. And then after that, on the 4th of June, will be our last live show until July. And that will be, hopefully, Black Powder Shooter 44 and Squib Load and several other people have I've asked them to come on to the show at that point. So, as always, we're going to leave out of here. Trust in God. Keep your powder dry. Bye.